Hey, what's up? It's KHG back again with some more Warhammer. Today, like promised, we're going to get into the Demon Trader, guy in green, Primarch, man of many titles, Mortarion, aka Morty. I don't know why y'all call it. Anyway, I've been searching around for like videos to react to. It's not very much. We have a lot on the Death Guard, but not many on him. I know some of you guys are probably tired of seeing Majorkill, but at least he's consistent with doing a lot of videos on the Primarchs. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. 20-minute video. All right.
G'day, guys and gal. With the world on the brink of requiring an exterminatus from Nurgle's gifts, I thought it'd be a great time to take a look at the lore of the Death Guard. Also because you heretics voted for them today. If there was a poster boy space marine as to why chaos is bad, bloated diseased corpses who smell like emu ejaculate combined with 3-week-old lasagna, don't ask me how I know what that smells like, seems like a pretty good example why turning away from the Emperor's light is a bad idea. However, in truth, the Death Guard actually have it the best out of all Chaos Space Marines. More on that later. It's just a shame Mortarion is such a little soy boy who can't get over his own hypocrisy and daddy issues. Today we'll go over who the Death Guard are and where they came from. We'll also have an in-depth look at their Primarch Mortarion and what made them fall to chaos, before finally checking out what our green boys are up to now. I won't go too much into detail about Nurgle and Nurgleite demons, as we have already covered them in a recent video. Let's get into it. After getting a little bit bored, a bright fellow called the God Emperor of Mankind decided that the galaxy was just one big pair of cheeks that needed to be clapped. Despite his known ferocity and advanced cheek clapping abilities, he couldn't do it alone, hence he created 20 demigod babies called Primarchs, each one with their own unique set of abilities and flaws. Lots of flaws. Well, Chaos didn't want to get its cheeks clapped, so it yeeted the Primarch babies across the galaxy. Or, if we're looking at the new lore, the Primarch babies' mum yeeted them across the galaxy, as she didn't want them to take a part in the galactic cheek clapping that the Big E was about to commence. Each Primarch landed on a different planet. Some planets were quite nice, and the Primarchs grew up as privileged white kids, while some planets sucked, and the Primarchs grew up with no vitamin D. The Primarch Mortarion, gene father of the Death Guard, landed on a shit planet called Barbarus. The planet had mega AIDS, hence Mortarion only survived upon arrival due to his extreme level of resilience to toxic gas due to being a Primarch. He also had a lot of extra toxic immunity because that was one of his unique passives. Mortarion was taken in by a necromancer overlord who taught the boy many things, but was overall a really shitty father, as he locked Mortarion in a fortress full of gas, which while it didn't kill Mortarion, made him look like an ugly motherfucker. Eventually he took notice of a civilization that lived in the valleys away from the toxic upper atmosphere, and was curious as to what they were, hence he broke out of his fortress and took a peek. He realized that they were human, kinda like him, and he wanted to help them. Initially they saw the massive malnourished Grim Reaper looking motherfucker and were like, nope. But then Mortarion defended one of their villagers single-handedly with a farm scythe and they were like, sure. Mortarion, or Morty as I'll call him from now on, trained the people, and one by one they overthrew and killed the necromancer warlords, until Morty's shitty adoptive father was all that remained. He was too far up in the atmosphere to be reached, even for Morty. Something important to note is that Mortarion despised everything about his adoptive father. He saw him as an evil psycho tyrant who oppressed and used those weaker than him for his own means. While this was occurring, the Death Guard, at the time called the Dusk Raiders, were purging the galaxy of Xeno scum and humans that didn't want to join the Fourth Reich, the noble imperium of man. There's not a whole lot of recorded about the Legion during this time, besides their preference for attacking at, you guessed it, dusk. In saying that though, they have quite a detailed origin during the Unification Wars, where the Emperor took over Terra. The majority of the Dusk Raiders were originally from Albania, who impressed the Emperor as he genuinely had to put effort into kicking their ass. The Albanians, like Morty, had a huge disdain for tyrants, as they only recently got rid of the last one, although they did accept the Big E as their leader, so they couldn't have been too against the idea. Hating tyrants pretty much is the only thing the Dusk Raiders had in common with their Primarch, however, so their unification with Morty was pretty jarring for them. See, the Dusk Raiders had a lot of
Sorry if I'm not talking or commenting on this, but this is all new to me. I don't really know much about the Death Guard or Mortarion to even comment on. One thing I do know is the right arm is red due to like the right hand of the Emperor or something like that. But that's about all I know so far.
Culture and tradition before they became the Death Guard. One of their arms was painted red to symbolize that they were the bloody red hand of the Emperor.
I know that much.
And also they weren't scared of pleasing their women any time of the month.
Yeah.
Morty was one of the last Primarchs found, hence the Dusk Raiders had a lot of time to develop their own tactics and preferences for war, whilst other legions found their Primarch early on, hence had not developed a big identity by that point. Back to Barbarus, as Morty is thinking about how to clap his Necro Daddy, the God Emperor of Man arrived. Whilst most Primarchs finally had their daddy issues cured and knelt before their father, Morty was a jealous prick and straight up refused. He was a lanky, ugly, bold, pale cunt, and the God Emperor was a tanned, jacked as shit Chad who had long flowing hair, but in a manly way. Morty's inferiority complex was obvious, so the Emperor just knew how to exploit it. He said, "Oh, come on, Morty, if you can't kill your Necro Daddy, then you're a worthless piece of shit, and you didn't come on my adventure, but if you can't, then I'll fuck off." And Morty was like, oh geez, Dad, okay, I'll do it. Morty then climbed to the highest peak of the world and, as expected, couldn't handle the toxic gas that was so powerful it made the showers in Auschwitz seem healthy. Morty fell to his knees just as his Necro Daddy came out to mock him and end his life. Before that happened, however, the Big E won his custody agreement by leaping in front of Morty.
Hold on. He couldn't handle that gas, but he lived in gas like for years and years, locked away. This is some very special gas.
And killing Necro Daddy with one hit, saving Morty's life. Now this part really goes to show the stupidity and immaturity that a lot of the Triad of Primarchs have. Mortarion considered this a kill steal, and harboured this as a grudge against the Emperor for all of eternity. Such a drama queen. True to his word, however, Morty joined the Big E on his adventures. As he was already a distinguished commander, Morty was given almost instant command of the Dusk Raiders, and in one go completely wiped away their entire culture. He stripped the paint on their armour until it was blank, changed their name to the Death Guard, and completely rewrote their combat doctrine and mindset. Never had there been more drastic change of a legion after meeting their Primarch, other than maybe Sanguinius, who brought honour to his sons, or Angron, who drilled rage nails into his sons' brains. The new Death Guard was without colour, complex tactics, or fun, as fundamentally, Morty is a boring cunt. Despite them being the lamest Space Marines, they were still extremely effective. They basically formed large infantry squads and then march at the enemy guns blazing. The idea was that the firepower and durability of each of the Death Guard would be used to overwhelm any tactics the enemy would attempt. This is backed up by their use of war crimes in the shape of radioactive weaponry, phosphex weapons, and chemical warfare. Mortarion would go on to insist that all future Death Guard recruits
Whoa, he would not be part of the UN. Hell no. Nuclear weapons, chemical warfare, all that. Oh, nah. Hey, as somebody who served in the military, I say nuke any country that even dares to use that kind of shit. That stuff, like, oh my God, man. Watch some videos on like what like certain weapons do. It messes up children, women. It messes up people who weren't even fighting for generations. Oh my God, man. People are still suffering from Agent Orange from the Vietnam War. Nah. Don't play with chemical and biological weapons. Nah, that's not cool.
Came from Barbarus, which was pretty rough for a low-populated planet. Like, to keep the Legion's numbers intact, they had to basically send all of their healthy and strong children, most of whom died during the process, to try act as new recruits of the Death Guard. Barbarus basically just became...
But at the same time, if it's against, like, Xenos, I don't give a damn, man. Burn them all, really. But, you know, against other human beings, other Primarchs, other Startes, no. You violating, man.
A Chinese sweatshop for Death Guard recruits. Not much of an improvement over the necromancers that were fiddling with their corpses. People were like, why don't you just move the population to less of an AIDS-ridden planet? Which Morty replied, why don't you just suck my skinny white dick, bitch? A positive to this technique, however, was that the recruits Morty brought into the Death Guard were already highly resistant to toxins, hence after receiving his gene seed, they were almost immune to anything beneath a bolt around to the head. Almost. Ironic that the legion with the best immune system is the legion that falls to the chaos god of munting your guts out till you die. The Death Guard dragged their boring ass across the galaxy,
what did he say?
acting as a destructive legion who wiped out enemies and moved on, never spending time on garrisoning or building things. It was during this time that Nathaniel Garrow rose to prominence, one of the only likeable Death Guard. He was Terran-born and was a complete badass who formed bromance with Saul Tarvitz of the Emperor's Children and Gavriel Loken of the Lunar Wolves, both absolute sick cunts who might even warrant their own videos. Games Workshop made a habit of producing at least one likeable, distinguished Space Marine from each legion who defied their Primarch, and these were it. He even did this cute thing with Saul where they carved the Imperial Aquila on their gauntlets, so every time they clasped hands, it would form the full Aquila. They would then whisper, "Bro," to each other like 5 or 6 times. More on Garrow in a bit. As the Great Crusade was wrapping up and the Biggie went back to Terra so he could work on his secret webway project, which if you saw my last video details the real reason behind it, Horus then went full bold cunt mode and betrayed the Emperor, kicking off the Horus heresy. Morty joined with Horus officially because he was closer with Horus and still harboured the grudge against the Big E for taking his kill those years ago. Unofficially, it's because Morty is a bold cunt. Remember the rule, guys, bold people are evil pieces of shit, unless they are black. Don't believe me? Look at this picture of the loyalist and traitor Primarchs and you do the count. This is my headcanon, as it's my strong opinion that Games Workshop did a terrible job in justifying
Hold on, was that racist? Nah, it wasn't racist. It's actually fictionally true. You know, like Lex Luthor and some other like Hitman. Yeah, those guys are fucking evil, man.
Each of the traitor Primarchs fall to chaos, beyond they were just a stupid asshole. If you want people to like the traitor Primarchs, you need to give them a better reason for allowing their soul and souls of their legion to get eternally raped. Boo-hoo, Daddy took your kill, go eat a fucking Snickers, Morty. Horus and his traitor Primarchs realised that around 1/3 of their legions were loyal to the Emperor and would need to be purged before he could enter into open rebellion. As such, the Istvaan III debacle occurred, where the loyalist forces were sent in to crush the forces of a rebellious planetary governor who had fallen to Slaanesh. In this fight, Garrow got shot on by a Slaaneshi psyker who broke a number of his bones and tore off his leg. He survived this, but he was left on a disability pension, hence had to be withdrawn to a small Death Guard ship in orbit. Mortarion had wanted Garrow to join his forces in rebellion, but Garrow wasn't having any of it. This plus the fact that Typhon, Mortarion's second in command, who was a massive dick, as well as Gruul Gore, who was an even bigger dick, wanted Garrow gone as they found him insufferable, probably because he wasn't a massive douchebag like they were. Garrow could tell something was off by the way the Istvaan invasion was going. Squads were broken apart and reassembled for no apparent reason. When a Thunderhawk flown by Saul Tarvitz flew past on its way to the surface of Istvaan and told Garrow that Horus was a traitor, Garrow was ordered over Vox to fire upon his blood brother, as his was the only ship nearby who could. Garrow decided to blow up the craft pursuing Saul instead, and pretended he killed Tarvitz and that the pursuing craft got destroyed as a collateral damage. Bro. Garrow wasn't yet convinced his daddy was a traitor, until one of his men reported to him that the fleet in orbit was preparing to bomb Istvaan with the Life Eater virus and kill everyone on it. Tarvitz actually knew this, hence why he flew down there to warn his brothers. Shows you why Tarvitz is a legend. Garrow realized he had to get back.
Why deploy a virus when you could just do exterminatus from orbit? I don't get it. It's like you want to be a dick. Seriously. I'm against like chemical weapons. If you want to know what chemical weapons is like, pour some bleach in your bathroom floor, then sit there for a while. Close the door. Don't turn on the fan. Tell me if you like chemical weapons after that.
To Terra and warn the Emperor, hence he engaged Gruul
Or spray yourself with some mace. Do that.
Gore in a fight for control of the ship, killing that massive dick by...
Hold on, it's YouTube. Don't do that. I don't suggest that you do that. Don't test any of the things that I just said. You know, disclaimer.
Spraying some Life Eater virus on him. For context, the Life Eater virus sucks and will kill a Death Guard, like the disease that shall not be named would kill your nonna. Garrow then narrowly fled the system, making risky warp jumps, having to fight Gruul again when that massive dick got resurrected by Nurgle during a warp jump, and was able to warn the Imperium. The rest of the Loyalist Death Guard weren't so lucky. Under the command of Loken and Tarvitz, the Loyalist forces held on Istvaan for months, denying Horus and the traitors a lot of time, men and resources, which allowed the Imperium time to prepare. In the end they fell, but they put up a bloody good fight, killing twice as many traitors as they lost. In recent novels, it's revealed that Loken did actually survive the massacre, and is getting revenge on his traitor brothers. Saul kicked Lucius's and Eildon's ass, two of the biggest dicks in the Emperor's children, before eventually he was overrun. It's not known if he's alive or not, but he's probably dead. With Garo warning the Imperium, the Emperor sends the Raven Guard, Iron Hands and Salamanders to go put down Horus and his goons, whilst the Night Lords, Iron Warriors and Wordbearers and Alpha Legion were to arrive in a second wave to support the Loyalists. Except that didn't fucking happen, and the Birds, Lizards and Prosthetic Boys found themselves in a pretty severe gangbang, as it became 7 legions against 3. Needless to say, the Loyalists lost pretty bad, as Ferrus died, Vulcan died, and then came back to life only for Conrad to capture him and hook up his balls to a car battery for a few months. Korak survived due to his invisibility hacks, but yeah, not the best start for Daddy E. For the next 7 years, this war, called the Horus Heresy, would rage on. Notable moments for the Death Guard include the Second Battle of Prospero, where Mortarion very undiplomatically tried to turn the car over to the traitors' cause, resulting in a duel between the Primarchs. Typhon, that dick, fought an Iron Hands force for control over a special device that could aid in warp jumps. However, the Lion swooped in, told both of them to lick his balls, and then took the device for himself. The Death Guard also took part in the Battle of Mochlek, or the fuck you say it, which resulted in Horus entering the realms of chaos and getting all jacked up on chaos roids.
But Majorkill, why did Mortarion and the other Primarchs join chaos if chaos was obviously evil and indulged in psychic powers? Powers which Mortarion hated.
Shut the fuck up, Timmy, you little shit, before I inspect your scrotum with Nurgle's rot. The pitch to join Horus and beat the Emperor wasn't, "Hey Morty, can I put this inflected slug in your asshole? Don't worry, you'll turn into a moth." No, each of the traitor Primarchs was claimed pretty much against their will, except for Lorgar, but he's a pedophile, so he doesn't count. As the heresy continued to become...
Should Lorgar be next? Let me know in the comments. I'm thinking about doing him. Still doing Emperor's text-to-speech though.
Became more obvious that the traitors had some demonic benefactors. Mortarion wasn't a fan of this, but couldn't do much about it. It was his dream that the Imperium became a place free of rulers and psykers. However, the more the heresy went on, the more it was obvious that upon Horus's victory, there would only be rulers and psykers. Now this is where the so-called tragedy of Mortarion begins. I consider it the dumb fuckery of Mortarion, as it is totally his fault and not tragic at all. But yeah. Remember, Morty started off as a leader of a rebellion from an evil necromancer tyrant who lived on the highest peak of Barbarus. After an encounter with the demon, Morty used his latent psychic powers to defeat it. He then accepted that he was a massive fucking hypocrite, and that maybe by using these psychic powers, he could deny Nurgle's claim on his soul. Yeah, good luck, mate. It was time for the traitor legions to attack Terra, hence Mortarion prepared to warp jump there. However, Typhon, that dick, framed all the navigators as loyalists and had them all killed. He was then like, "Yo dad, I can totally navigate the warp for us. I was secretly a closeted navigator all along." And Morty was like, "Fuck it, alright?" What Morty doesn't know is that Typhon was a little dick, and instead led the fleet into a part of the warp controlled by Nurgle. Nurgle infected the fleet with the Destroyer virus and Nurgle's rot, a nasty combo. I mean, like, both diseases are horrific by themselves, but they become double horrific when you get both. Despite the extreme immune system of the Death Guard, they were overcome by the virus, their bodies fusing with their armor as their organs turned to jelly. Despite their suffering, the Death Guard could not die. Even when Morty tried to mercy kill some of them, they just survived and kept on begging for death. Very grim.
Wow.
It became apparent to Morty that the only way out of the warp and to end his son's suffering was to accept Nurgle as his lord and savior, hence he did so. Suddenly, all the Marines could no longer feel how absolutely buggered their bodies had become, but they still stunk like shit and looked awful. Typhon changed his name to Typhus for some reason, and the Death Guard emerged from the warp as we currently know them today. Now you might be like, geez, it really sucks to be a Death Guard. It would have been way better to be any other of the traitor legions. But that's where you're wrong, kiddo. Despite being a bunch of bloated, stinky flesh husks infested with flies, maggots and other not so lit things, they had it the best out of all the traitors. The Emperor's children were all drug-addicted rapists, the World Eaters were all insane in a constant state of agony, the Thousand Sons got turned into a dust-based automaton, and the Wordbearers had Lorgar as their Primarch. The Death Guard maintained their sanity and discipline, as the only real corruption they suffered was superficial if you think about it. That demon worm devouring what is left of your intestines really isn't an issue if you can't feel it. They took part in the Siege of Terra, almost killing Jagadai Khan, but were forced to fall back when the Big E killed Horus and the Loyalist reinforcements arrived. Now when the traitor legions retreated, most of them just yeeted across the galaxy and were exterminated by the Loyalists. However, the Death Guard maintained a strict defensive retreat, suffering the fewest casualties out of all the traitor legions, and were able to return to the safety of the Eye of Terror mostly intact. There, Morty set up shop on a plague planet, which he then terraformed to be a copy of Barbarus. To really bring us full circle, Mortarion then set up his base at the highest peak of this world. Morty was now the psycho-using tyrant overlord of a toxic planet. Sound familiar? Also, the Death Guard have created a plague which brings people back to life as zombies, hence Morty has become the new Necro Daddy. As I said, some say tragedy, I say hypocritical prick with daddy issues. Mortarion will be reasonably inactive in the real space for the next 10,000 years, as Nurgle used him to fight the other forces of chaos, combined with the fact that it's really hard for demon primarchs to maintain their existence outside of the Eye of Terror, other than that one time he got his cheeks clapped by Kaldor Drago. As such, most of the Death Guard incursions are led by that dick Typhus. I'll be honest, the Death Guard are by far the most powerful and scary of the traitor legions. Everywhere they go gets infected with horrific plagues. They have a counter to everyone and can corrupt anyone. They once infected some Necrons with the Ferric Plague. When the Necrons went back to their tomb world for repair, the entire world got infected. They can infect orcs and turn them into pus bags full of Nurglings. They can infect craft worlds. They can infect machine spirits. Hell, they can even infect Tyranids. That's right, once a Tyranid hive ship attempted to devour a plague planet, and then begun seizuring so bad that the other nearby Tyranids had to blow it up. Even when you beat the Death Guard, you probably still lose, as your planet is likely too infected to save. During the recent siege of Fenris, Logan Grimnar was able to liberate every single planet in the system, except the one that the Death Guard attacked, which they had to exterminatus. With the return of Gulliman and the opening of the Great Rift, the forces of the Death Guard launched a fuck-huge invasion of Ultramar, conquering planet by planet until Mortarion was face to face with Gulliman. They did the typical Primarch thing of just insulting the shit out of each other, whilst pointing out each other's hypocrisy and flaws. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see them fight properly, as Khorne began invading Nurgle's territory in real space, and Morty was called back to deal with it. No legion is as durable, cohesive or stinky as these boys. If the Imperium ever does fall, it will be by the will of the Death Guard. And that does us for today, guys. A good look at the Death Guard Legion and their Primarch Mortarion. As the Death Guard are a well-known and popular legion, they have engaged in a shitload of wars and conflicts, and have a boatload more lore to them beyond this video, so I encourage you to do some investigation. Mortarion is one of the only active traitor Primarchs at the moment, and the Plague Wars and Ultramar were a big spotlight for these guys in recent times. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, then head over to Patreon. Only $1 gives you access to a boatload of Warhammer hentai. No Nurgle hentai though, so don't worry about those horrific.
Alright y'all, that is the Death Guard and Mortarion. I don't like Mortarion. I don't like him. He's at the bottom of my list of Primarchs right now. I just don't like biological weapons. I find it as a cheap way to win battles. You know, back in ancient times, when people wanted to seize a castle, what they would do is find a body with the plague or rotten something, a body with disease or something, a cow or something, and catapult many of them over the wall into castle, knowing that the infection over time would spread to the populace and kill them all, weakening their forces. I mean, I get it as a tactic of war, but you know, man, it's like you kill way more than the people who would actually want to fight you. And like they said, even if you win against Mortarion, your planet probably will still die later. So basically, he can come fight for a little while, then leave, and then come back after you're all dead and stuff like that. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But I do believe it is fun to paint, and it would be fun to have this army. We're saying if it's a game, it's a game. Win however you can. And I believe it would be fun to paint, you know, paint pus coming out of this and that. Blood and all kind of tentacles and all kind of rot and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I think that would be awesome to actually have as a tabletop army. But let me know what you think. I requested this, so obviously you like it. You know what else you should like? This video. Hit the like button if this is your second time, third time here, and you've been watching me, hit the subscribe button. Anyway, you could have been watching anything from anyone, but you were here with me, so I thank you. The next video is going to be some more Emperor's text-to-speech, and I'm going to find another Primarch or another Legion to do in between then. I'm really just stretching out the Emperor's text-to-speech. Anyway, till next time, peace. Mortarion, Morty, you stinky, rotten bastard.
You need help.